is going to be a quick overview video of Birth of the Trumpet, a new jazz trumpet library. This is a project we've been working on for a long time. Some of these ideas go back several years that we've been slowly working towards this. And this is the first library in our series that we're calling the New Standard, which is focused on jazz playing and having instruments that can play melodic jazz, pop, Broadway style phrasing in a believable way. There's been a lot of horn libraries in the past that can do the falls and the shakes and all the sort of jazz effects, but they've all fallen short in just being able to just play basic jazz phrasing and try to capture all the nuance that happens when a jazz player is playing in this kind of style. The library itself was recorded all in time and playing phrases in context and extracting notes out of real played phrases. This smart delay here is a big part of how this library works, and it's actually choosing from over 2,000 samples per note, per pitch, based on things like the length of the note, where the note is played in a phrase, like if it's the first note or the last note or a middle note, and not just where the note is coming from, like legato transitions normally do, from one note to the next, but also what the next note might be. So it's a pretty massive matrix of possibilities that the script intelligently goes and picks the right note based on what you're playing. So I'll go into more detail into the smart delay in another video, but in this video we'll just look at it real quickly and show you kind of how it works. So if you look at the interface, we have 3 pages of controls. You have the smart delay real-time button, which I'll show you. Just obviously if it's on real time, it plays in real time. If it's on smart delay, it's delayed. So I'll explain more about what's happening and why that's happening and how that can be useful. So you have your articulations down here. We have legato, staccato, staccatissimo, tongued, which is like legato but with just a little more accent. Forte pianos, trills, shakes, several falls, scoops, doits, flops, gliss, and half-step bends. I'll play just a couple of things. You can kind of hear a handful of. So those are staccatos, tongued, so the legato here too in real time is true legato. So it's playing legato intervals. We have forte pianos, trills, shakes, falls, long falls, right? Scoops, hoops, doits, flops, rips, glisses, and half-step bend. So that's just a quick rundown of the articulations. Then here we have obviously the playable range of the trumpet. Here we have the mute keys, which and it's also in the interface here. I'll run through that real quick. So for this library, I'll go more into depth into this in another video as well, but this is something we've been working on for a very long time. It's finally ready for release and we're very excited about it. And so we've found a way to sample trumpet mutes, brass mutes in real life. So this is not like some kind of computer EQ matching or something. It's actually, it involved sawing a trumpet in half, and so it's a real recording that we're applying to the sound of the trumpet. So that means that we have all the trumpet mutes for every note, every articulation. So you can use trumpet mute and you can change them in real time. So maybe I'll just play a little bit of this opening bit, and I'll just run through a couple mutes. You can hear what they sound like. So here's the original. Oh, let's put it on smart delay. It's a little nicer. So that's open, right? Regular trumpet. And then we can hear a cup mute. I won't play them all. We'll just kind of go skip around. Harmon. Here's a Harmon, classic. This is a really cool one. So, yeah, we have a few more with the stem out. You can hear Harmon with the stem. And then straight mute. So, and then we have a bucket, a plunger, a hat, a handful of others. So we're really excited about that, and I'll go into more detail to explain. So you can select those either in the user interface here or with the key switches, so you can see, you can change in real time there. We'll just go back to open. And then you have the mixer, real basic, just a nice reverb. We have the close mic, which is most of what we're hearing now. You also have a room mic. So those are, you know, a big part of, you know, what we're going for with all of our libraries is just trying to inject some of that kind of rawness that you get from, you know, old jazz records or just recordings of people playing in the room together. So having the room mic, even if it's not a sound you might use by itself, it's a nice addition. And then also we have this bleed. We actually recorded. So this was an idea we came up with in the bongos library. And the idea is a bleed mic is a mic that's on another instrument. So you hear this a lot on records that are recorded live where, let's say there's a piano and there's drums in the same room, and you get a little bit of that bleed, and that's kind of a part of the sound. And it was a really nice thing in the bongos library, so we've decided to keep doing it. Now, we actually ran out of space in Kontakt. We reached the limit of samples that Kontakt can hold, so we actually couldn't use them in the library. So we made a convolution reverb from the same thing, and it's pretty faithful to the real sound. So that's another. If I turn it up, you'll really hear the. It definitely gives an edge to the sound. So those are really cool, and you can pan those. That's kind of a cool thing to do, is pan the bleed or something like that. So that's your basic mixer. In the control, I won't get into this too much, but you can see this is sort of deeper controls. You can move where the mute key switches are, or turn them off if you don't want them. There's some stuff here that has to do with the vibrato. So how much vibrato? We have a really beautiful vibrato that we worked really hard on. We analyzed players' sounds, the timbral things that were happening, pitch, all these little things. We really spent a great deal of time analyzing it in depth and finding out what's happening to the sound and added it back in. So it's a really pretty vibrato. I can turn it up for you. We can just give it a listen. And again. So you have an amount, which is how deep it is and how fast it goes. So there's some parameters here that adjust how those things work. You have things like a swing accent for when the smart delay is on, which is how hard does it swing. So you hear that it's mod wheel velocity, but you can hear that it's ghosting some notes and accenting other notes. And this is all just from analyzing literally hours of real trumpet player playing in real time and putting that stuff in there. So yeah, so some of the deeper controls are going to be here, and I'll go into a more in-depth video that will show how to use some of this stuff. So before we go, let's just talk about the smart delay a bit. Basically what's happening, you can see there's a little reminder here that comes up and says, for added realism, engage smart delay and go to your DAW, select the MIDI region and move it 4 beats to the left. So essentially what the smart delay does is it waits 4 beats to play everything. And in that time, so you're playing your phrase and it analyzes all this stuff about what the phrase is and what's happening intervallically and how long the notes are. And so for instance, if you play a 16th note or a 32nd note or a run or a long note, it's going to go and grab different length samples, and not just different length samples, but different length samples with legato transitions on either side. So it's a pretty powerful tool, and I can play you a little bit of just kind of what happens. So if I put it back on real time, you can hear, I'll just play the thing from the opening. So yeah, so that's the idea of that. So you would use that, you would play it in, obviously to get the melody and to get what you want it to be. And then you would turn smart delay on and you would nudge the MIDI region back 4 beats. So I think you can hear, I mean, it's like night and day. So that's the idea. And so all the articulations you put in will follow it. And there's a lot of advantages to doing it this way. Like getting some of the breath sounds before a note starts in the quieter notes. Glisses are in time. You don't have to nudge around glisses to get them to land on the note when you want it to. I mean, there's kind of, the list goes on and on about the advantages of doing it this way. So that's basically Birth of the Trumpet. Check out the other videos, check out the demos. Maybe to go out, I'll show you kind of how the real basic way I work with it, which is playing a melody in real time and then moving it back 4 beats and turning smart delay on and see what we get. So thanks again for watching. Yeah, see you next time.